What's good? You just typically at the time. Bro, Najee, leave me alone. Watch TV. Open. Huh. My bad, you too. Alright, let's get out to this reaction.
Makonde. Imagine being held down in a police station while someone pushes a tube through your nose and into your stomach. Then a
Wait. Why are you pushing a tube through my nose into my stomach anyway?
burning liquid is poured inside you to make you vomit. This is what happened to Lay Alamakonde, an asylum seeker from Sierra Leone who was living in Germany. In December 2004, police arrested him because they suspected he was selling drugs. They thought he had swallowed small packets of cocaine to hide them, and instead of waiting for the drugs to pass out of his body naturally, the police called a doctor to force him to vomit. The doctor used a strong medicine, which makes people throw up. To give it to him, they pushed a long tube down his nose. Conde fought against the procedure and kept swallowing his vomit.
Through my nose? You stupid.
Because of this, liquid went into his lungs, and even though this was very dangerous, the procedure was repeated several times. After a while, foam started to come out of his mouth and nose. He collapsed, and paramedics had to bring him back to life before taking him to the hospital, but he never woke up again. Conde went into a coma, and about 10 days later, he died. The doctor said
because you swallowed. Like, YouTube, my thoughts keep running out, but
official cause of death was cerebral hypoxia, which means that his brain was badly damaged because it did not get enough oxygen. He had basically drowned after breathing in his own vomit. His death revealed a bigger problem. In the same city alone, police had forced more than 1,000 people to vomit drugs between 1991 and 2004, and a similar death had already happened in Hamburg in 2001. Finally, in 2006, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that this practice was torture. The doctor who carried out the procedure was ordered to pay Conde's family 20,000 euros.
I'll give you the day off if you can prove to me you know your finances.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
How many subscriptions are you paying for?
Abdul Wali. Abdul Wali was a 28-year-old Afghan farmer who went to a U.S. base after the local governor advised him to surrender. He wanted to show that he had nothing to do with a rocket attack on that base and denied all involvement. However, instead of clearing his name, he was tortured to death while in custody. For 3 days, he was held as a prisoner, and a CIA contractor called David Pissarro took charge of questioning him. Soldiers later testified that Pissarro gave strict orders. Wali was not allowed to sleep. His food and water were really limited, and he was beaten over 2 nights. Witnesses said that he kicked him in the groin with his heavy combat boots so hard that Wali's body lifted off the ground. He slammed him onto the floor, hit his arm
damn, we not playing WWE.
and legs with a heavy Maglite flashlight, and even shoved the flashlight into his stomach. At some point, the beating broke Wali's pelvis. This left him unable to urinate, which caused him even more terrible pain. By the second night, Wali was no longer pleading for mercy. He was begging to be killed. Soldiers remember him moaning, "I'm dying." And on the 4th day, he did die. At first, the death was reported as a heart attack, but later evidence showed that the beatings were the real cause. Pissarro became the first and only person linked to the CIA ever convicted for abuse after 9/11. At first, prosecutors charged him with several serious crimes that could have meant decades in prison, but in the end he was found guilty of 1 count of assault, causing serious injury, and 3 counts of simple assault. He received a sentence of just 8 years and 4 months, which was later reduced to 6 years and 8 months. A judge even told him that if an autopsy had been done, he might have been charged with murder. Darren Rainey. Darren Rainey's last hours were spent locked in a prison shower that was turned into a torture chamber. The 50-year-old, who suffered from schizophrenia, was being held at Dade Correctional Institution in Florida and was supposed to serve a short 2-year sentence for cocaine possession. One night, after he smeared feces in his cell, guards took him to a special shower in the prison's psychiatric ward. The pipes had been changed so that prisoners inside had no control over the water temperature. What happened next was horrific. The water blasting down on Rainey reached as high as 160 degrees Fahrenheit. He begged to be let out, but he was trapped inside for almost 2 hours. When guards finally opened the door, he was lying on his back, dead. His body was covered in patches of burned skin, with 2nd and 3rd degree burns over more than 30% of it. Paramedics later said his skin peeled away at the touch. Photos from the scene even showed bruises on his hands.
Pulled away is crazy. His skin pulled away. His skin peeled up away. Come on, man.
From him pounding on the shower door as he tried to escape. Even with these shocking details, accountability was slow. For 2 years, officials gave no clear explanation for his death, and 2 of the officers on duty were even promoted. Other
What?
prisoners later revealed that Rainey was not the first to suffer this punishment. At least 8 others in the psychiatric unit had been forced into the same shower. Only after the Miami Herald exposed the case and human rights groups demanded answers did an investigation begin. The prison's warden was fired, but no one faced criminal charges. In 2016, the medical examiner called Rainey's death accidental, blaming a mix of confinement, his health problems, and his mental illness, while ignoring the obvious fact that he had been trapped under boiling water. His
Man.
family sued, and at least they eventually received a $4.5 million settlement.
God damn.
Dilawar was a young Afghan taxi driver who happened to pick up the wrong passengers at the wrong time. He was driving 3 men home when an Afghan militia stopped his car at a checkpoint near a U.S. base that had been attacked earlier that same day. Inside the car, they found a broken walkie-talkie and an electrical stabilizer. Without real evidence, they handed Dilawar and his passengers over to American soldiers. This turned out to be the end for him. At the Bagram Detention Center, Dilawar was tortured. Guards chained his wrists to the ceiling of his cell for long periods, leaving him hanging until his shoulders came out of their sockets. He was denied sleep, forced to wear a hood, shoved into walls, pulled by his beard, and kicked in the groin. Soldiers stomped on his bare feet and slammed his chest against tables.
No
Worst of all,
evidence.
his legs were beaten again and again with what the soldiers called peroneal strikes. These were powerful blows just above the knee, designed to cause intense pain. Dilawar endured more than 100 of them, and by the time he died, his legs were so destroyed that even if he had survived, doctors said they would have had to cut them off. They described them as pulpified. On the day of his death, Dilawar had already spent...
But guys, be some type of justice or something that happened to these dudes. There's no way they just getting away or beating and killing people with no evidence. Like, come on again.
most of 4 days chained to the ceiling. When guards tried to make him kneel, his legs would not bend anymore because of the repeated beatings. He was told he would see a doctor once questioning was finished, but instead, he was dragged back to his cell and hung up again. Hours later, when a medic finally checked on him, he had already passed away. What made it even more tragic was that U.S. interrogators later admitted many of them believed Dilawar was innocent. His passengers were later sent to...
Y'all believe he was innocent? And his pastor... Wait. His pastors didn't get beat?
You'll be nailing them faster than you can say right.
His pastor better die too. No way he the only one that died. No way, right? No way, right?
It was the stock market that started history's greatest wave of wealth.
Later, when a medic finally checked on him, he had already passed away. What made it even more tragic was that U.S. interrogators later admitted many of them believed Dilawar was innocent. His passengers were later sent to Guantanamo and eventually released years later, with letters saying they were not a threat at all. The truth about Dilawar's death could not stay hidden. A leaked death certificate proved he had been killed by abuse, not by illness as the military first claimed. His story later became the center of the Academy Award-winning documentary Taxi to the Dark Side, which revealed the horrors that took place inside Bagram. Some soldiers were investigated, but the punishments were light: short jail terms, rank reductions, and official letters of reprimand. No one was ever convicted of murder.
Somebody else. Come on, again.
And Dilawar never got to come back home to his wife and baby daughter. Nicolaus Contreras. He was only 16 years old when his body finally gave out. Nick was sent to the Arizona Boys Ranch, a privately run boot camp for troubled youth, hoping he could earn school credits and turn his life around. His health was already fragile when he arrived. He had asthma, and the higher elevation in Arizona made breathing harder. Soon he began showing clear signs of being sick: nausea, diarrhea, fevers over 100 degrees, spasms, etc. His pulse was racing. He lost weight quickly, and even his body gave off what staff described as a moldy odor. However, instead of giving him proper care, staff brushed him off, calling him a faker and a baby. Even his prescribed inhalers could not be used unless staff gave permission. As Nick grew sicker, the treatment from the staff only got worse. They forced him to keep doing 100 degrees, spasms, etc.
So you're telling me these little kids and they faking and they you know what? And then you know what's crazy? Like they probably got bullied as a kid. So now they take their anger on people. Like what, bro?
His pulse was racing. He lost weight quickly, and even his body gave off what staff described as a moldy odor. However, instead of giving him proper care, staff brushed him off, calling him a faker and a baby. Even his prescribed inhalers could not be used unless staff gave permission. As Nick grew sicker, the treatment from the staff only got worse. They forced him to keep doing harsh physical exercises, and if he faltered, they shoved or punched him. When he fainted,
These grown men putting their hands on a little kid. And if they mama sign that razor, like, certain stuff like that, like, it gotta be like a razor, like, that you gotta sign something for them to be able to hit your kids and stuff again, or no.
They threw water on him to force him up again. Often, he wasn't allowed to use the bathroom, so he lost control of his bladder and bowels. He soiled himself so often that his mattress was moved into the bathroom, and he was made to sleep there in his own filth. Staff forced him to carry his stained clothes in a trash can and do push-ups over it. At mealtimes, he had to sit on a toilet
He
while
had to smell his own pee?
eating, mocked in front of others. Staff even spread rumors to the other boys that he had AIDS. Nick tried to reach out for help. In his final phone call to his family, his grandmother remembered how he struggled to speak, coughed nonstop, and said, "Wanna die, wanna be with Dad." Too hard.
Dang.
Then, during yet another round of physical
Wanna
drills,
die,
Nick
wanna be with Dad. Nah, that's how you. And y'all didn't do nothing. He's calling y'all for help. If my kid called me for help and said, "I wanna die, I wanna be with Dad," and he can't talk, I'm going up there.
fainted several times, and instead of helping him, staff joked that he deserved an Academy Award for pretending. They forced him into push-ups, slammed him against a wall, and even made him act like an ambulance siren, while another boy pushed him in a wheelbarrow. By the afternoon, his body couldn't take it anymore, and he collapsed for the last time. When staff ordered him to get up, his final word was simply, "No." And 2 hours later, he was pronounced dead. Investigators later counted 32 different acts of abuse involving
32? That's murder. That is murder.
17 staff members. The Los Angeles Times uncovered other reports of children at the ranch being burned, beaten, or seriously injured. Still, most of the staff escaped real punishment because of legal technicalities. Saydnaya Prison. Saydnaya Prison, just north of Damascus, became known by the name the Human Slaughterhouse. For decades.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I would be damned if I go to a place and they call the fucking human slaughter. Bitch. I would be fucking damn. I would never go to no bullshit like that.
Decades, and especially during the Syrian civil war, it was one of the most feared prisons in the world. Former inmates said Saydnaya wasn't designed to hold people, but to break them. New arrivals were greeted with what guards called a welcome party. This meant hours of beatings with pipes, cables, and tank belts. Prisoners were blindfolded, dragged across the floor, kicked until they passed out, and left bleeding in piles. Survivors say
what's crazy? I bet these people probably got bullied or punched on when they was kids, so they take their anger out on these people. I can guarantee that.
could identify guards just by the sound of their footsteps or the crack of their whips in the darkness. Detainees were hung by their wrists in painful positions, shocked with electricity.
I put my mom never take me nowhere like that. Boy, I'm gonna be on my best behavior. I ain't being bad no more. My mama 30 to take me to something, a boot camp. No, please don't. If they be doing people like this, don't. Please, mama, don't take me nothing like this. I ain't trying to die.
Burned, and sometimes forced to rape each other. Guards used hinged boards called flying carpets to bend people backwards until their joints tore apart. Food was sometimes mixed with blood, and water was tainted with urine. Prisoners reported being forced to choose between saving their own life or killing a friend or relative. One Syrian lawyer later estimated that 3 out of every 4 prisoners who entered Saydnaya did not come out alive. Straight-up secret executions were performed there as well. Amnesty International documented how groups of up to 50 people at a time were taken before a military field court. These so-called trials lasted only minutes, sometimes just seconds. The detainees were then led to underground chambers and hanged. Between 2011 and 2015 alone, Amnesty estimated that between 5,000 and 13,000 people were executed. Their bodies were carried away in trucks, sometimes stored in salt rooms, where rock salt was used to preserve them until they could be buried or hidden. In 2017, satellite photos and witness accounts led the U.S. State Department to accuse the Syrian government of building a crematorium at Saydnaya to get rid of bodies and cover up evidence of mass killings. Prisoners freed during the collapse of Assad's regime in December 2024 recalled underground cells where men were kept in total darkness, surviving with bottles of urine for waste and thin soaked blankets for warmth. Many had forgotten their own names after years of trauma. If you liked this video, subscribe for similar.
It's like, I'm not angry, bro. If y'all mamas take y'all there again, y'all mama don't love y'all. If your mama ever you call her and tell her you get beat on or something, she don't believe you, your mama don't love you, gang. I ain't gonna lie. And y'all, if y'all wanna go here, keep being bad, y'all. Stop being bad, y'all. Get your life together.